want to say thanks again to Gina and Peter who made this premiere possible. It was a total miracle. It just happened a couple of weeks ago. So thank you so much. This movie is a miracle on many levels. The first miracle is the person who funded Project Light, and that is Nick Ortner of the Tapping Solution Foundation. We raised the money to fund this film partially through an Indiegogo campaign, and the credits that you saw were the 1,152 people who contributed money to make this film from 30 different countries. That's all as a result of Nick's network of people, 500,000 people around the world. Nick was also the person who brought me to Newtown because of my work in Rwanda, and I've been there for the last 2.5 years. Just came back to Santa Barbara, where I live. And of course, the second miracle was having Barnet Bain come to the rescue and devote a huge amount of his time and his heart and his vision, and we wouldn't have this film without him.
I'm so moved every time I look at it. I've only seen it for about 1,000 hours. Every frame over and over for a year and a half. But it never fails to move me, and it never fails to open my heart, and it never fails to inspire me. When we look for a way to tell the story, we look this way, and we look that way, and we look the other way, and we looked high, and we looked low, and eventually Lori and I sat around and we thought, what if we did a search? What if we explored what might happen? And I'll preface this by saying we didn't know whether this would work. We didn't know how it would turn out. We had a lot of footage, and we knew we needed more footage. But we said, what if we explore what might happen if and when people went and did their very best, their utmost, to restore a sense of mattering to other human beings. That's what moves me so much. We said, well, what if we tell the story and look only for the footage and only for the small stories that affirm what is beautiful and what is good about being human. And in that way, if folks who had lost everything, if they could find some sense of themselves, and if that could be restored, and if that little pilot light of humanity could be loved until it fired into a bonfire, what might happen? What might happen in them, and what might happen in their community? We wondered, might anything at all happen? But somehow we had an intuition, and we had a sense that that was the big game, that was like where the big action was. You know, you always look for what in others, what you're looking for in yourself. I know that's very true for me. And so I was very fired up about the approach. Even though we thought it was risky, some part of us knew that it would not be risky at all. And so I'm moved every time because I feel restored and that I matter every time I see it.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. you know, I set out to prove that love and the right resources could heal anything. And we didn't have all the resources we needed. And I'll explain a little bit more about what's to come now with Project Light. But Shauna and I and the rest of the team literally came together every day for a month on the top of Mount Jali. We had to drive 2 hours up the mountain and 2 hours down the mountain. And it was at the Ramara-Mabogo High School, and we had taken 12 Project Light graduates who were unknown to us, 12 individuals that Reverend Toms chose, and we did this program at the high school, but there were no facilities for us to stay there. And the 650 young people there prayed us up the mountain every day and prayed us down the mountain every day. And when I tell you that 4 hours of difficult travel up and down that mountain wasn't easy, but to them it was a miracle that we kept showing up. And that it was a true partnership. So it looked like there was a giver, and it looked like there was a receiver, but in that infinity circuit, where we met in the sweet spot in the middle, there was only love, and we were all transformed. One of the sweet pieces for the team was that we would process every day going down the mountain and process going up the mountain. And my approach was to allow the form to emerge from the partnership. But my team kept saying, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? Well, what would you like to do today? And we'd make a list as we went up the mountain. And then we would open with our praying and our singing and our meditating. And I would open the circle and ask what were the blessings and the challenges of the night while we were away from each other. And as soon as we finished, that had created the form that we would then work with that day. So I would take the piece of paper, tear it up, throw it up in the air, look at the team and say, we're going in. So much of what you see simply emerged from allowing us all to hold the space and be informed by what was needed in that loving space. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. First of all, thank you both for that fabulous work and the fact that you brought the connection from Rwanda here to the United States. And my question is, what's the application for things that are not quite so serious as genocide, but are happening in our country every single day in communities that are traumatized as a way of life?
And that's why we're calling Project Light a new form of humanitarian aid. And this is really a business consulting model that we're now wanting to develop so that we can bring it to all of the places in the world that are needed. I will be going to Chicago, one of the places that it's very much needed in the United States, in 2 weeks to actually secure a resource partner in Chicago to build out Project Light in Chicago, and also to take some resources there in job development skills for inner city and disadvantaged young people to Rwanda. So we'll be partnering with an organization there. The thing that's a little different here is the model depends on the trauma healing piece. So we have trauma healing, heart-centered leadership, economic sustainability, and social justice. Those are the pillars. And it will look different depending on where, it's meant to be culturally adaptive to wherever it's brought. But without the trauma healing piece, that's the glue that ties this all together, and that hopefully is the piece that creates the cornerstone, the foundation for success. So what I'll be talking about a little bit later is that business plan, so that it is replicable and scalable and adaptable You know, our hope is that we are invited into communities to collaborate in exactly the way that you're saying. So the piece, again, each piece, we all have trauma, and more so every day as we see what's happening in the world. But it's the next generation of young people, if they can heal their trauma early on, how powerful that can be in creating those heart-centered leaders that we need. Does that answer your question?
I am curious, though, why you're calling it, did you say consulting?
It's a consulting model. I mean, see.
A consulting model.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Meaning that we are, the next phase, phase 2, this was just phase 1.
Right.
It was a pilot program. I think we proved that with even more resources, it could be more efficient and effective, that we could replicate it and scale it to be able to deliver it to hundreds and thousands of more people. And as a humanitarian aid model that's sustainable, as a consulting model, we would just come in with our team and consult with communities on how they could develop this model themselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laurie,
Yes.
I want to make a comment rather than ask a question. And I just want to tell you that you are the Project Light. It's beautiful to have someone like you in the world. And we were just talking a little earlier exactly about what's going on in the world. And on the counterpoint to violence is the love. And your love shines through in the most beautiful, beautiful way. And what shines through this whole piece is that message of, you know, it can be very complicated and, you know, all kinds of therapies and techniques, but when it comes down to you touch people that directly with the heart, that's so transcendent. So I really thank you for what you bring into the world. It's a resonant field that is just making such a huge impact.
Thank you,
So
Norman.
thank you.